So Ponzi scheme. You know the word Ponzi came about. There was a guy named Ponzi. Okay, so what's the whole thing about a Ponzi scheme and a pyramid scheme? You hear these words: Ponzi scheme, pyramid. Everything nowadays is called a pyramid scheme. Everything nowadays is called a Ponzi scheme. It's very easy. People drop that word regularly, right? NFT is being called that. Cryptocurrency has been called that. A lot of things have called a multi-level marketing has been called pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme. But the challenge where some people win is when there's not an actual usage of the product. Let me say that one more time. There's not an actual usage of the product, meaning the product they sell is not being used. If I'm anybody right now, I want to get to the 60% number, 70% number, which means there's got to be 70% of the people that buy this coin use the technology, use other aspects of it rather than just So, for example, hypothetically, all these guys that are pro Bitcoin, pro Ethereum, pro whatever, Doge. Right. You just saw Elon Musk yesterday saying we're not going to be taking payment for through Doge, right? Yep. Because he says the technology is better than X, Y. Even though this started as a meme thing, it's better than all the other guys with their technology. Yeah. Yep. Elon Musk is doing the right thing. What Elon Musk is doing is he's giving it credibility. So, for example, insurance companies need to start accepting Bitcoin as a payment. Like when you talked about the whole I Trust Capital, which is the IRA, that's great. Small businesses need to start more taking Bitcoin as a payment, Ethereum as a payment. More of these folks that are pro-crypto the future, that's the direction you're going, decentralized. The bank can no longer bully you and do all the other stuff. Powell can no longer control your life. Any of those things, great. But there needs to be a major push into the usage of the technology rather than the investment. If they win there, I think...
You are 100% on, and that's why I brought up the utility. Listen, I can make a very good argument that XRP is being utilized way more than Bitcoin or Ethereum as it relates to just that token being used. Cross-border payments, people get on the ledger, they send money. There's an app, a developer independent of Ripple called Spin the Bits, and it's spending Bitcoin, where he uses the XRP ledger as a layer 2 solution to the Bitcoin network problem, right? It takes 10 minutes at the low end for Bitcoin to an hour for the transaction to go on the ledger.
Ripple's instantaneous.
Ripple's XRP is instantaneous, 3 to 5 seconds. And when you had Kurt on here and he said, Bitcoin is like 7 transactions, BTC and
PSV,
Ether is 15. Ripple XRP, the token, 1,300 per second transactions and fraction of a penny. I've watched it, I can move $2 million worth of Bitcoin for a fraction of a penny using the XRP ledger. As you said earlier, the technology is awesome. It's absolutely, in my opinion, the superior tech as far as the network. And I think when you get to usage, XRP is ahead of the game.
That's where you win. You win there. That's my opinion. I may be wrong, but I think you win by me needing to use the product. If I use the product, it validates that it's not just an investment.
Here's the problem, though, guys, right? And this is the beauty of decentralization, and this is also, this is where decentralization lags behind. Who's the Patrick Bet-David of Ripple? Who's moving the company forward from a marketing perspective? Who's out there creating the infrastructure necessary? Who's got the user interface so that everybody can get on their phone and within 3 seconds learn how to use the product and use all these different ledgers that we're talking about? Who's going to teach my mother how to use Ripple on a day-to-day? It was impossible to teach her how to use Venmo. It took like 2 years to get her on Venmo. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes the issue with cryptos going forward. Which community can come together and coagulate in a common direction, that they're going to have the Bitcoin ATMs and somebody's going to have the conversations with Mutual of Omaha and say you should be using Bitcoin to take payments. Like who's out there actively selling, who's out there actively marketing, who's out there actively creating infrastructure in these usage things. There's a $1 trillion industry, $1 trillion industry in the future for people that, think about it. Think about the very first person who allows easy pass to have Bitcoin and takes 1/10 of a cent of a transaction for every easy pass that goes through every toll in the country.
Right.
That they're worth $1 trillion.
No, you're right.
So I mean, like, but who's doing that? I mean, right now, like, who is pushing that technology forward? Who's the driving force behind that technology in these because these aren't like companies. They're like organizations. They're it's the beauty of it. It's the wild, wild west right now. There's no directive.
Well, two things. You'd be a great securities lawyer because do you know consumptive use defeats the whole case? For XRP or if Ether gets sued, the SEC in the complaint, they have an entire section that tries to say there is no consumptive use. It is all mere speculation. There are no users of the network. So you're 100% on point. And the problem, the danger, why this case is so dangerous is what you just said. Who's out there promoting it? Because once you are a promoter, are you a common enterprise? Are you leading people to a reasonable expectation of profit based on your efforts?
If somebody was a drug dealer that started it, is it now a RICO case? Right. Are you now complicit in international smuggling? Like if you buy this stuff's the Wild West, man. NFTs, like I saw, and you as a lawyer, I'm sure you've heard this as well. There are people out there right now, right, that are creating an NFT for $300 Ethereum. Okay, they've got $1 million in Ethereum sitting in the bank. They buy their own NFT for $1 million Ethereum. They spend $1 million, but now they have the NFT and $1 million Ethereum. Right. They sell it at a loss for $500,000. So they lost on the ledger $500,000. They took a $500,000 loss, but they got $1.5 million Ethereum. Right. You can do that over and over and over. It's not illegal right now. Right. You're getting a $500,000 loss and you're increasing your wealth. Is that what's going on with the NFTs?
Look,
I mean, is that the idea here?
Think about it from this standpoint. Okay, what allows the government to want to tighten up regulation on guns? What allows it? Like, think about what helps their argument.
Public perception?
No, forget public perception. It's dummies who do stupid things that are irresponsible with a gun. Then the politician comes out and says, "What? I told you,
I'll save
we have to, and you know what, Governor Newsom, I'm going to do exactly what Texas did to abortion, we're going to do to guns in California. Mm-hmm. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. You can no longer buy, right? So, meaning, where I'm going with this is the following. The quick money, get rich quick scheme type of guys are unfortunately, making life difficult for the rest of the guys that are doing it the right way, the long-term play-wise. And this has been going on for a while. Government, the regulators, they love that 1% of the con man that are that are trying to. They say, you see, that's exactly why we need to protect you
might be them.
From that person.
It might be them. They're the ones going around breaking the windows.
That's the Hegelian dialectic. That's the Hegelian dialectic.
Gary Gensler just did that just a couple weeks ago when he brought up Bitcoin. Someone brought up Bitcoin. He goes, it's being used for ransomware. Do you know what percentage that really is being used for? But that's the play.
That's the play. And, like, for example, last year we had $200,000 of fake valuetainment consulting Bitcoin stolen. And we get the calls. And I get on the phone with these guys. I'm like, listen, that's not us.
Right.
That's not us. Look at the email you got. That's from David Crypto Specialty at gmail.com. I said, that's not us, buddy. We don't have that website. That's not our website. Go look at the IP address. Oh, shit, I feel so bad. My wife is so upset at me. So there is that going on as well.
Absolutely.
So there's got to be a part on, a society has to either accept the fact that if that happens to you, you were the one that didn't verify the source that was coming your way, so you deserve exactly what you got.
Right.
Or a society needs to say, no, we need to figure out a way to eliminate 100% of that. And that's when these government people come in and they feel special that they're needed to do their job, and then they go turn one small regulation into 78 different regulations.
Absolutely.
And then another guy comes in, try deregulating stuff. So my concern is they're going to point to these guys and say, this is why you need our help.
Which would you prefer in that spectrum?
You know which one I would prefer. To me, I would prefer, look, the whole concept of valuetainment is what? Education. That's the whole concept of valuetainment. Look, here's what to look out for. Here's what to be paranoid about. When you're raising money, keep these things in mind before you raise money. Ask these 10 questions. Before you're hiring somebody, ask them these 5 questions. Before you open up an office and sign a lease, know what the commercial real estate guy makes. Here's what their motive is.
Understand risk.
So to me, I'm all about educate. And then look, if you screw up, it's on you. I've screwed up. God knows how much money I've lost screwing up.
That's organic regulation.
And that's organic regulation. A part of that's got to be organic regulation. But there are those who abuse others. My punishment for abuse would go higher. My punishment to want to hurt somebody's livelihood and their savings, if you do that, it wouldn't sit very well with me.
Less laws, but harsher consequences.
Less laws, harsher consequences, my approach, is what it would be.
The problem we have, though, is it's always an extreme. It's either no regulation or it's a nanny state. You know, and that's the problem. It's the financial crisis, after it came down and Dodd-Frank was passed and all that, I couldn't get a mortgage to my home, and I just wanted a home equity loan, even though the home was worth 2/3 what I'm asking for, and I had 5 times that in the savings account. But they said because 1 year I fell under a certain threshold at my law firm, you know, settlements were delayed or whatnot.
They're doing the exact same thing now with COVID. They're doing the exact same thing now. They're telling people that they had a lapse of income. They were like, yeah,
right.
The world was shut down.
Right, but before that, it was no verification income loans. It was no job verification, all those things.
Then the predatory lending.
But the problem we have right now is when a situation like this case happens and certain government officials start picking the winners and losers. And that's what's happened in this particular case.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.